I never thought my journey from failure to fame would lead to an unforgettable legacy. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started like a storm brewing in the distance, a dark cloud I couldn't see. I was clenching a broken heart, the kind that doesn't heal with time but festers. It was the day I stood in front of a crowd that didn't want to see me. The air was thick, no, heavy with judgment. My hands trembled mercilessly, sweat trickling down my back. The echoes of laughter, they stung. They pierced through me, sending jolts of panic deep into my chest. My father's disappointed gaze haunted me. He had sacrificed everything to build a life for us, only to see me crumble in front of those unforgiving faces. My brother stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching with a mix of disdain and worry. I wanted to scream but couldn't. Instead, I remained silent, a broken piece of porcelain on a stage made of dreams. Everybody knew I had tried. So many auditions, so many numbers, I felt like a joke. Yet there I was, wearing my heart on my sleeve, in desperate need of validation. The strange thing was, as much as I desired their approval, I also feared it. The pressure was suffocating, an invisible weight pressing down on my shoulders. The air tasted like metal. Just as I thought I'd collapse, an unexpected figure appeared, her, Maya, my best friend and my biggest fan, rushing through the crowd, eyes wide with determination. There she was, a breath of fresh air, a spark igniting the darkness. "You've got this," she yelled. Her voice cut through the noise, resonating like a lighthouse in a storm. But suddenly, everything changed. A silence fell over the audience. They turned, glancing towards a doorway I hadn't even noticed before. A figure stood there, shrouded in shadow, holding something. Was it a sign? A ticket to salvation? Then, a gasp from the crowd. The moment electrified the air. I felt the tension. It was palpable. What had happened? That second flutter of my heart, fear? Anticipation? Couldn't tell. I was left standing there, teetering on the edge of something monumental, something I couldn't quite grasp. What did this mean for me? Would this moment define my legacy? Or would it vanish like the laughter that once haunted me? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air crackled with electricity as I stood there, suspended in uncertainty, my mind racing. What could possibly be so important that it had grabbed the attention of the entire room? I felt Maya's presence behind me, a sturdy anchor in a sea of chaos. Her belief in me was a flickering flame against the encroaching shadows of doubt. The figure at the entrance slowly stepped forward, and the flickering lights bathed her in a golden hue, illuminating a familiar face, me, estranged mother. Despite years of absence, her features were unchanged, the lines on her face a testament to the burdens she bore. Rigid with disbelief, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. What was she doing here? She had left me when I needed her most, and now, against all odds, she stood before me. As she approached, the whispers from the crowd surged like a wave, a mixture of curiosity and judgment. I wished I could melt into the floor, the weight of the world pressing down harder than ever. My father's disappointment felt like fingers, clawing at my insides, and my brother's disapproving scowl burned into my back. Yet there was something in my mother's ice and urgency, a plea for connection that I had craved since she left. "I am sorry," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the hushed crowd. "I shouldn't have stayed away for so long." There was an ache in her tone, a raw honesty that snagged on my heart, but the heat of rage welled inside me. How could she think one apology could erase years of absence and confusion? As my mother continued to step closer, I found myself frozen by the indecision that clawed at me. Could I forgive her? Did I even want to? The promise of reuniting after all this time felt suffocating. Every moment of my youth rushed back lonely birthdays, hollow holidays, and the countless times I had watched friends embrace their parents. I fought to keep my breathing steady, each inhale a battle against the urge to scream. And yet, amidst my turmoil, I felt a flicker of hope. Memories surfaced of my mother during the happier days, her laughter echoing through our home. The warmth of her hugs that made everything seem right. Her unwavering encouragement during my first performances. Could she still be that person beneath her troubled past? But the thrum of uncertainty looped tightly around my heart. As if sensing my inner conflict, Maya stepped forward beside me, gently placing her hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to do this alone," she whispered, her voice a steady anchor. I turned to her, her eyes shining with unyielding support. It was a reminder that the stage I stood on didn't have to be faced alone. I nodded subtly, grateful that she was there to navigate this unpredictable terrain with me. Suddenly, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned to find an unfamiliar face, a young woman, breathless and flushed. "Sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help but overhear. I know this moment is heavy," she said, her sincerity shining through. "But can I share something? I used to be a performer, too. This same stage broke me, but it also rebuilt me into something I never thought I could be." And just like that, a small branch of understanding intertwined with my chaos, giving me hope that perhaps, out of darkness, something beautiful could grow. But before I could respond, the shadows shifted again. My brother uncrossed his arms and stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "Maybe you should listen to her," he said, glancing between me and our mother. "People do change, but it's your choice." With that single statement, he pivoted, walking away, leaving me to grapple with conflicting emotions. Turmoil mingling with hope, confusion laced with unexpected courage. I turned back to my mother, my heart racing. Could I confront the ghost of my childhood with the knowledge that my mother might want to reconnect? I felt raw, exposed, and yet the fresh air blowing through the cracks felt like a new beginning. But then, without warning, the lights flickered ominously, plunging the room into darkness. Gasps erupted around us as the audience shrank back, and I felt Maya's grip tighten around my arm. In the sudden silence, the air felt charged with something sinister. Just before the lights came back, I heard a voice. "Your legacy, it's not just about failure or fame. It's about the choices you make, and some choices bear consequences." As the lights flickered back on, my heart dropped. The face of the shadowed figure emerged again, standing ominously behind my mother. It was the same figure, the one I had seen before, now unveiled, a haunting reminder of the choices I had avoided. A specter of my unresolved past glaring back at me. Its implications unclear yet dangerously compelling. "Who are you?" I gasped, my voice barely a whisper, the weight of dread settling in my chest like a stone. The room seemed to close in on me as the enigmatic figure took a step forward, their presence throbbing with an unsettling familiarity. My mother's face twisted with confusion as she turned to see the darkness materialize into something far more complex than just my past. The air felt thick with tension. "I am the keeper of memories, both sweet and bitter," the figure said, their voice echoing like a distant thunder. "I come to remind you of the roots you have buried deep within your soul. Roots that have the power to either heal you or drown you." Maya's grip tightened even more, her presence a steadying force amidst the seemingly supernatural upheaval surrounding us. I glanced at her, searching for answers in her eyes that mirrored my own disbelief. Was this part of the performance? Or was the universe genuinely unraveling before me? My heart raced, entangled in a web of confusion and fear, teetering on the edge of vulnerability. "Why now? Why are you here?" I stammered, fighting the instinct to bolt. The figure tilted their head to the side, and for a fleeting moment, their face shifted into something unrecognizably a mixture of the estrangement I had felt, the love I had yearned for, the failures I had tried to escape. Because the past is never truly past. It follows you, waiting for the moment you can either confront it or be consumed by it. They responded, their voice softer yet filled with an unsettling resonance that sent shivers coursing down my spine. I cast a worried glance at my mother, whose expression morphed from confusion to something more heartbreaking regret. "Please," she implored, her voice trembling. "I made mistakes, monumental ones. But what I did was not who I am. It was a dark moment, but I've been fighting to find my way back ever since." The words landed heavily in the pit of my stomach, a strange tangle of sympathy and anger unfurling within me. Could I truly believe that she had struggled through her own darkness? Her attempt at reparation felt like grasping at smoke, elusive and insubstantial. A part of me longed to reach toward her and share in the hope she offered. But still, I hesitated. That flicker of anger ignited anew. Suddenly, the lights flickered and dimmed again, casting distorted shadows against the walls and wrapping the room in a cocoon of unease. I could feel something inside me scrambling to make sense of it all, the choice to forgive, to move forward, or to keep this haunting resentment alive. Maya stepped in front of me, shielding me as if sensing the turmoil escalating around us. "Listen," she urged. "If you want to walk away, we can. But you have the power to choose how this story unfolds." The young woman who had spoken earlier emerged from the crowd again, her face compassionate yet fierce. "What if I told you I know how terrifying it is to face the past, to confront the pain? But trust me, every time you ascribe meaning to your experiences, you're shaping your legacy." Her words lingered in the air, and for the first time, a seed of determination flickered within me. Maybe the shadows that loomed were not there to consume me, but to help me, to forge something compelling from the wreckage. Just as I gathered the courage to confront the figure and by extension, my mother, the ground beneath my feet trembled as a low rumble echoed through the room. A crack tore across the floor, startling the audience, sending a ripple of gasps through the crowd. Maya steadied herself, eyes wide, face pale but ferocious. "Hold on," someone shouted from the back, but the room felt electrified in an entirely different way now, as if the threads of fate were entwining to weave something new, something profound and as yet unknown. The figure before me smirked knowingly, undeterred by the chaos around. "Remember, true transformation comes not from the absence of fear but from embracing it. Will you take the first step toward your legacy, or will you let it fade into obscurity?" Before I could respond, the rumbling grew louder, shadows converged around us, blotting out the light, absorbing our uncertainty. And through the darkness, an unfamiliar melody began to play, hauntingly beautiful, a song woven from the fabric of shattered dreams and unfulfilled promises. As I closed my eyes momentarily, the lyrics spilled into my consciousness like fragments of a long-forgotten memory. "Will you choose to rise from the ashes, or will you burn in the embers of your past?" With an instinct that surged from deep within, I opened my eyes. Would I falter, fueled by anger and fear? Or would I step into the unknown, not just for myself, but for the hope of reclaiming my past while crafting my future? And just as I opened my mouth to voice my decision, the world erupted in chaos. The lights went out again, plunging us into black silence, and I felt a hand reach for mine, pulling me toward the heart of uncertainty. The echoes of the melody chasing us through the dark, the fear lurking just behind, and the shadows whispering long-buried secrets. I could only hope we were running toward something worth finding. The darkness was suffocating, wrapping around us like an inescapable shroud. I could feel Maya's hand clasping mine tightly, her warmth a stark contrast to the chilling void that threatened to swallow us whole. I took a deep breath, welcoming the familiar scent of her lavender perfume mixed with the petrichor that clung to the air, a reminder of the storm brewing both inside and outside of me. "Don't let go," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the sound of my hammering heart. In that moment, I didn't care what lay beyond the darkness. All I needed was to hold on to this fleeting thread of hope spun from her unwavering faith. Yet, as the echoes of the melody danced around us, a somber realization settled. I was standing at a precipice, and the choice to leap into the unknown felt heavier than the weight of my own past. Just then, a series of flickering lights burst to life, illuminating the room in chaotic staccato bursts. The figure loomed closer, their eyes swirling like storm clouds, teasing at the remnants of my memories. Will you choose to rewrite your narrative, or allow the shadows of yesterday to dictate your fate? Maya, I shouted over the cacophony, panic trickling into my voice. What do I do? Her gaze was fierce, and for a heartbeat I glimpsed her resolve a fierce story of her own battling against timidity. You breathe, you choose, and you confront the pieces of your heart that would rather you didn't. I could feel my pulse quickening, the pressing awareness of my past colliding against the present. The shadows tugged insistently at the corners of my mind, whispering taunts about my failures and regrets, drowning out any attempt at clarity. And just like that, memories began to unravel like old film, superimposing themselves over the reality I stood in as if conjured by my thoughts. A familiar face appeared. Daniel, my first love, the one who had seen the best in me when I couldn't. I felt a pang in my chest, a bittersweet ache associated with moments of reckless laughter and innocent skin-to-skin touches. But that image morphed, twisting darkly to remind me of the hurt that chased him away, the way my own insecurities poisoned what we had. Look how you lost him, the shadows whispered. Look at your own mess. Maya, I can't confront all of this, I cried, my voice trembling, half filled with anger, half filled with panic. I'm terrified of what he'll find. That's exactly where you need to be, she replied, her voice steady, eyes burning with encouragement. You are not defined by your past. You are defined by what you choose to do with it. The ground trembled again beneath us, a reminder that change was not something that could be ignored. As more faces emerged from my memory, the pain of each past relationship, woven together like a fragile tapestry, I felt a warmth beside me. A hand sought mine again, reviving that connection I'd once thought lost. Turning, I met my mother's gaze, resolute despite the whirlwind of chaos around us. There are things I wished I'd done differently, but I've lived in this guilt long enough, and maybe it's time to forgive myself too. Her voice cracked on the last word, a reflective moment hovering between an unspoken understanding of shared burdens and heartaches. I don't know how to forgive, I admitted, the fight slipping from my tone, yielding to something raw and honest. Neither do I, she replied, tears pooling in her eyes, a gentle reminder that we were both still learning. But forgiveness isn't a destination. It's a journey, and perhaps that journey can start together. At that, the shadows swirled violently, as if recoiling from the flicker of hope ignited in our fragile hearts. The melody echoed louder, the lyrics begging for resolution. Will you choose to rise from the ashes, or will you burn in the embers of your past? It struck me that we were not far from achieving something profoundly transformative, not only for ourselves but also for each other. The hand holding mine tightened, and I felt the connection between my past and my future lives intertwined, poised on a fragile brink, trembling with possibility. With a surge of determination, I stepped forward, ready to confront the unknown, ready to wrestle my demons. I choose to confront my past, to embrace it, to learn from it, I shouted, forcing the words out to pierce through the darkness. But amidst the quaking ground, just as the shadows began to recede, the figure laughed, a chilling echo reverberating through the waning chaos. That is only the beginning. Remember, it's not just the forgiveness you will need, but the courage to carry forward without the burdens of yesterday. As the figure spoke, the lights flickered once more, illuminating what lay beyond a doorway framed in blinding light, pulsating with untapped stories waiting to be unearthed. Behind it, I sensed a presence shift, something vast and unnameable, hovering on the cusp of existence. And just as I took a step toward that luminous threshold, my mother's hand slipped from mine, her form being drawn back into the shadows. No, I screamed, lunging for her, desperate to hold on. But she faded like mist, leaving me with a gut-wrenching ache, exposed in the flashes of uncertainty. Maya, I gasped in horror, desperation clawing at my throat as I spun around. My heart hammered mercilessly in the silence, echoes of laughter mocking me, as if I had stepped unwittingly into a realm where my worst fears would unfurl. The past could no longer be buried. It would fight back in ways I had never imagined. In that instant, the melodic whispers grew louder, as shadows coalesced, framing my choice. Take the leap into that promise of light, or claw back and face the shadows that threatened to engulf me and her entirely. The room pulsed with a rhythm of alternating light and darkness, a stark reminder of the choices that lay before me. I stood frozen, a storm of emotions churning within me: loss, fear, and the faintest spark of determination. Maya had been my anchor through the turbulent currents of my past, and now, with her hand lost to the shadows, it felt as if the ground beneath me was crumbling away. "Stay with me," I cried, the desperation clawing at my throat. The melodious echoes of hope dulled against the weight of my agonizing dread. All around me, figures in my life emerged, poised in their own shadows, flickering like flames waiting to be ignited or extinguished. Maya, but the darkness only swallowed my pleas, further entrenching me in the tempest of unresolved emotions. Stepping toward the blinding doorway, I felt a gravitational pull beckoning me forward, promising a truth too daunting to imagine. What awaited me could transform everything, or it could obliterate what little light I had left. I hesitated, caught between the urge to flee and the burning necessity to face the truth. Suddenly, a voice broke through the chaos, a gentle murmur that sliced through the impending noise. "You can do this," it said. It was Daniel, a glimpse of that carefree laughter from days long gone, a ghost of our shared past emerging like a flicker amidst the chaos. You're here?" I stammered, the shock of his presence jolting me from my despair. "I never left." He responded softly, stepping closer, the shadows fading as he crossed the threshold between memory and reality. "You filled your mind with darkness, but I have always believed in your light." A surge of emotion flooded through me, an impression of warmth battling the chill of uncertainty. "I lost you because of my fears. I pushed you away," I admitted, my voice cracking, each word heavy with regret. "The truth is, we were both afraid. I never understood the depths of your struggles," he replied, his eyes reflecting a mixture of sorrow and compassion. "But if we never confront our fears, they'll continue to taint even the best of our memories. Fighting that battle is necessary." His presence strengthened my resolve. I inhaled deeply, drawing on the courage that had been stirring within me, and took a step towards the doorway. "I need to confront not just the fear of losing you but the fear of losing myself." In that moment he placed a hand on my shoulder, firm, reassuring. "I'm with you no matter where this path leads." Inspiration sparked, and I took a deep breath, feeling my heartbeat steady amidst the tempest. As I moved toward the light, the shadows thrashed around me, whipping my clothes like windswept branches scraping against the ground. But Daniel's voice remained a constant, guiding remnant through the storm. Suddenly, the intertwined memories began to swell, forming a thicker darkness behind me. I turned back momentarily to face the silhouettes of those I had lost. There were faces I hadn't seen in years. Beloved friends, family hidden beneath the pain of regret and neglect. "Will you let them go?" The haunting figure from before sneered, emerging from the darkness once again, its cold laughter echoing in the void. "They cannot help you now. You cannot save them. No. They were parts of my journey. They taught me love and pain alike," I replied, steadier than before. "I can still learn from their stories, and I can still honor them." With that declaration, I felt the shadows shift, shrinking slightly from my resolve. Each image began to swirl, a maelstrom of stories intermingling with laughter of friends, the lessons from my mother, the painful echoes of goodbye infused with remembrance, and no more hiding. I shouted, grounding myself in the moment, determined to confront each fragment of my heart. I embrace my past, the beauty and the pain. I can weave them into strength. The blinding light at the doorway pulsed eagerly, as if inviting me to step beyond the threshold. I took a step closer and could feel the heat radiating forth, promising clarity. But as it flickered, I heard a voice from the shadows I had nearly forgotten. "Maya?" My heart dropped, a shiver running down my spine at the faint echo of her name. "Maya, I see you." The shadows shifted again, and I felt the weight of something ominous looming. I turned back towards Daniel, worry etched in my brow. What if all this is a trap? What if I lose everything again? Take the leap, he urged, his voice filled with conviction. The only way to change our lives is to let go of the fear that has ruled us. You must choose your story. With fire igniting in my heart, I reclaimed my breath, chased away the lingering chill, and stepped toward the light. Each second stretched thin, filled to the brim with uncertainty yet brimming with an unexpected pulse of hope. But as I crossed the threshold, the shadows surged, converging rapidly, ensnaring reality in their wrathful grasp. You can't escape from the past, they roared, their voices a cacophony of regret and demon influences fueled by ancient fears. You will watch everything you hold dear slip through your fingers. I stumbled, caught in a whirlwind of tumultuous turmoil until the light enveloped me completely, snatching me away and vaulting me somewhere uncharted. Breathing deeply, I let out a weak gasp, a mix of exhilaration and trepidation, unsure of what awaited me yet clinging to the slivers of hope that I could make meaning out of the chaos. But as my eyes adjusted to the sudden brightness, I felt a jarring sensation in my gut, a twist of reality that sent my heart in a freefall. I wasn't merely transported to another room. I was standing on the edge of a new life, a path I had never imagined, and there, amidst the brimming light, a chilling realization dawned upon me. The doorway had sealed shut behind me, and I could hear faint echoes of laughter and shadows clamoring for my return, unyielding in their hunger for my presence. My heart sank, the burden of what came next crashing down upon me. The shadows were not gone, and their lingering presence now extended tantalizingly close, threatening to dismantle my new world if I did not confront the truth. What lay before me promised to reshape everything, transforming previous failures into legacies that beckoned for recognition. But who would I become in this relentless pursuit of self? As the echoes of the past collided with the whisper of potential, one thing loomed. It was time to determine not just where I belonged, but who I was meant to become. I felt the warmth of the light settle on my skin, an unfamiliar comfort amidst the dread that wrapped around my heart. A moment passed as I stood aboard this precipice, a bridge between the old and the new, between fear and the possibility of freedom. Yet a haunting thought flickered on the edge of my consciousness. If I stayed here, what fragments of myself would I lose? Turning my head just slightly, I caught a glimpse of the world beyond the light, a horizon draped in gray tones, shadows flickering like lost hopes. I could hear whispers curling around my thoughts, insistent and knowing. You see, you can't escape. You're still tethered to that pain. Shut up, I said more fiercely than I intended. You don't own me anymore. Breath escaping in a soft gasp, I consolidated my resolve and took a step forward into the luminous unknown. And then I froze. Before me lay a vast, shimmering expanse, a beautiful canvas painted with vibrant colors that seemed to dance in interlacing patterns. It was exhilarating yet disorienting, as if I was witnessing pure creation at work. Welcome. A voice broke through the beauty, gentle like a summer breeze yet weighty like an anchor. I turned to find a figure stepping forward, a woman draped in a cloak spun from the very threads of light surrounding us. Her face was familiar, yet I could not place it. All at once, I felt simultaneously anchored and lost in her presence. Who are you? I managed, words stumbling out like hesitant raindrops. I am Mia, she replied, her smile warm and encompassing. I carry the memories of lost hopes and forgotten dreams. She extended her hand. In this space, I help souls like yours find the path to their truth. You've journeyed far, and now you must decide what follows. The shadows from behind me began to whisper, and I shifted uneasily, suddenly aware of the gravity of this moment. What if I fail again? The past is a foundation, not a prison, Mia replied, her voice steadying like a ship anchored in stormy seas. You've been given the tools. Now it's time to use them. The warmth of her words cascaded through me, igniting that spark of determination I had first felt with Daniel. Yet, just as quickly, doubt crept in again, latching onto my thoughts like a parasitic vine. But what if that path leads me to lose everyone I love? Not everyone has to leave, she said softly, her gaze penetrating the turmoil within me. But it requires you to truly understand their place in your life and yours in theirs. Embrace their stories. Let them guide you rather than haunt you. Tears welled in my eyes as I recalled the faces flickering at the edges of my vision, the friends. The family, those I had lost and those I had intentionally distanced myself from in my desperation to shield them. I've been so selfish. Perhaps, but you have also been incredibly brave. Her hand reached out again, offering connection. This journey is about understanding that courage isn't the absence of fear but an acknowledgement of it. Only then can you build beauty from the ashes. As she spoke, I felt a gentle pulse in the space around us. Something shifted, awakening within me. The tension ebbed slightly, diluted by a tantalizing thrill of possibility, urging me to embrace not only my fears but my hopes too. The question lingered heavy in my heart: what if the stories I feared were made of strength and wisdom rather than sorrow? I took an unsteady breath and nodded slowly. I want to confront them. I need to understand. Mia smiled, and as she did, the world around us transformed. The vibrant colors swirled, morphing into lush landscapes, echoing with laughter and ancient wisdom. The heartbeat of life throbbed more audibly now, resonating within the core of my being. But as I stepped deeper into this realm, I sensed an undeniable tether connecting me to the shadows still lurking behind me. Whispered fragments of past regrets began to materialize, threatening to disrupt the beauty unfolding before me. Laughter suddenly reminiscent of cherubic childhood joys juxtaposed against memories steeped in bitterness. I am ready to face them, I declared, wrestling with my trepidation. But before I could take another step forward, a loud crack echoed through the ethereal landscape, sending shivers down my spine. A shadow surged forth, clawing its way into my space, a figure twisted with resentment and despair. Maya? The name slipped out, barely a whisper, yet it pierced the tranquility like a dagger. The air grew cold, the vibrant colors dimmed as the shadow moved closer, revealing familiar features twisted by pain's own reflection, distorted by years of sorrowful choices. You can't escape the truth, it hissed, eyes glimmering with malice. You think transformation is possible? You will always be bound to your failures. Heart racing, I glanced over to Mia, her calm presence unwavering in the presence of the storm brewing within me. No, I shouted, forcing my voice to pierce the darkness. I am more than pain. With another surge, the shadow lashed out, and I felt the weight of my past press like a mantle of ice upon my shoulders. Just as I thought I would crumble under the ferocity of my memories, the brilliance of the light began to swirl again, infusing me with warmth, bolstered by the familiar presence of Daniel whispering resonance into this moment. You have to trust yourself. His words rang through, igniting sparks of defiance against the ominous presence. I drew in a deep breath, channeling every bit of love I felt, the friends I had cherished, the family who embodied resilience, and the moments shared in forgotten laughter. You don't define me. I am reclaiming my story. With that affirmation, a surge of strength burst forth from within me. The colors around me intensified, swirling with life and energy as my voice rose against the darkness that threatened to envelop me. With a final push, I stepped toward the shadow, ready to confront it head-on. Suddenly, the icy jest darkened, looming larger than ever, its voice and form unrelenting. Maya's not here anymore, it hissed, and as it did, I felt my resolve begin to falter. But just as doubt crept in again, I felt a rush of warmth at my back, the illuminating presence of everyone I had loved, their gentle whispers blending into one echoing refrain. You are never alone. With that, I solidified my will. I wouldn't surrender to the shadows. I would transform them into resilience as I forged ahead. I knew that whatever awaited me, whether joy or pain, would mark the beginning of what was yet to come. And as the darkness writhed around me, I braced for impact, ready to fight the most daunting battle of all, the one against myself. And then, in the swirling chaos, just as clarity sparked on the horizon, something unimaginable took shape, like a powerful wave crashing against my heart. The revelation washed over me, blinding me momentarily, a realization so profound it threatened to unravel everything I had fought to reclaim. As the darkness clawed at me, vying for my surrender, the overwhelming rush of realization surged with a truth I hadn't anticipated flickered to the surface, bright and painfully vivid. I had done everything to shield myself from failure, to bury those painful memories beneath layers of distraction and shame. But what if all those losses, all the moments of weakness I'd borne, were the very fibers of my new tapestry, that they could blend into something more beautiful than I could imagine? Maya's not here anymore. The shadow taunted once more, and this time, its voice shifted, siren-like, threading through my mind with an unsettling familiarity. It became clearer now what it represented. The fear of being forgotten, the nagging sensation that failure would etch itself indelibly into my identity. It was a specter not easily shaken, one that whispered variations of doubt, feeding on my vulnerabilities that I end that instant of clarity. I realized perhaps the shadow was not merely an enemy but a part of me begging to be acknowledged, a lost fragment yearning for understanding. "You don't define me," I said again, this time, with the reverberating strength of truth backing my words. The shadow writhed, as though my declaration had ruptured its very essence. "Why fight me when you know I embody your fragility?" It hissed, and something twisted within me, fear and recognition entwined. I was afraid, yes, but I had also endured. My failures were not chains. They were the stepping stones that had built the woman I had become. Suddenly, the vibrant landscape began to shift once more. I felt the echo of laughter rushing back, a whirlwind of joyous playdates with childhood friends, late-night talks that etched bonds deeper than any scars, the senseless adventures that once seemed trivial, but in retrospect, carried traces of profound meaning. "Embrace them," MIA's voice echoed through the shifting terrain. "Let them in, allow the entirety of your story to wash over you. You were made whole by both light and shadow." I closed my eyes, letting the memories cascade over me like a gentle rain, filling me with warmth. Each cherished moment, every failure, every successes, I allowed them space to coexist. I felt my fears begin to loosen their grip. The juxtaposition of joy and sorrow created a rich tapestry that began to connect the threads of my fragmented identity. And yet, as the dark figure writhed and dissolved under the radiant glow of my acceptance, I felt a sudden pull, a deep sense of foreboding swept through me. An unexpected flicker of memory ignited, so powerful that I staggered, clutching my heart. A face emerged amidst the shadows, a face I hadn't seen in years yet bore a striking resemblance to mine. "Fame comes at a cost," the shadow whispered then, a laugh like shattered glass echoing through the air, "and sometimes, what you fear most is what you become." Lurching beneath the weight of the revelation, I watched in disbelief as the shadows twisted and formed the faint outline of a girl. I was humbled by remorse as I recognized the lost potential, the ambitions that had once burned bright within her. "No, no, no," I exclaimed, shaking my head as if I could erase her altogether. But it was too late. The figure stepped forward, vibrant yet ethereal, but still trapped in a haze of disappointment and loss. "You turned your back on dreams that once had wings, Maya. You had the chance, and you let it slip away." My heart sank, crushed under the duality of yearning and acknowledgement. "You're wrong," I pleaded, feeling the ground beneath me shift, a chasm opening as my past clawed its way to the surface. "I thought keeping them at bay would protect me, but I understand now." "Understand what?" The reflection scoffed, passion igniting fury in its gaze. "That this facade of strength was just a mask? You risk losing everything again with each dream you chase. You could fall harder." In that moment, I recalled the faces of my loved ones, their laughter, their kindness. I wanted to share my newfound realization with them, to show them the beauty that emerged from pain. But what if my fears were realized? What if my seeking led to rejection? The thought clawed at my heart, seeping icy dread into its warmth. Yet I could not falter, not now. The threads of my story, woven richly with moments both shining and shadowed, encapsulated the very essence of who I was. "Fame, yes, but not for losing myself," I countered, my voice steady. "I want to be real, to choose hope even when I'm scared." Suddenly, a surge of warmth enveloped me. Mia stepped beside me, her presence anchoring me to the moment. "Courage will guide you through the chaos," she affirmed. "The path is neither light nor darkness. It is a blend of everything you hold dear." As I steadied myself, the shadow before me flickered, uncertainty passing through its grotesque form. The fear it embodied did not disappear, but it began to reshape, morphing into something more nuanced, carrying traces of understanding. The cost of fame may be steep, it reminded me softly, but it's the journey that enriches you. I end that depth of new understanding. The duality within me blossomed. Acceptance wove resilience into my very fabric. I turned toward Mia and whispered, "Will they still love me?" The gentleness of her smile shimmered. "Connecting with your truth will allow them to see you for all that you are. Those who matter will hold dear the scars and the victories." And just as hope began to unfurl its wings within me, the undervalued dreams I smothered surged forth, breaking free. Yet, just as I felt ready to step toward that vivid horizon, a tremor surged through the very ground I stood. Upona's slanted fissure sparked beneath my feet, trembling, demanding my attention. With a final glance back, the distorted figure stared through me, a haunting echo lingering with its last words. "But what if you lose that which you love most?" And in that moment, as the ground cracked open, I was faced with an impossible choice: leap into the vibrant unknown or step back into the shadows I had fought so fervently to leave behind. Knowing this journey had irrevocably altered everything. My heart raced, uncertainty entwining with the dawning realization. I was on the precipice of not just a journey but an unraveling legacy. As the ground beneath me gave way, the world around me shattered into a flurry of colors and shadows, my heart racing in tandem with the rumbles of uncertainty. The fissure, jagged and ominous, opened wider, tempting me to peer into its depths, an abyss that whispered of lost futures and forsaken dreams. Just as I teetered on the brink of decision, multiple thoughts clamored in my mind, chaotic cacophony of encouragement and hesitation. Mia's voice cut through the noise, her hand clasping mine tight, a lifeline in the tempest of my internal struggle. "You have what it takes to make this leap. Don't fear the fall, embrace the rise." But as I looked down into the chasm, an icy hand clenched around my heart. What if the cost of this leap was greater than I could bear? The thought seemed to recoil from the very core of my being. The shadow, now transformed into a spectral echo of my deepest fears, loomed behind me, taunting. "You want fame? Your past will haunt you. And it's not just the dreams you sacrifice, this is about them." It hissed, gesturing toward the distant silhouette of faces I loved. "What if they can't accept the real you? What if you lose them forever?" "Stop it," I shouted, bolstering a facade of confidence. But deep down, the tremor of doubt warped my resolve. The thought of losing my loved ones, those who had anchored me through the tempest of life, frayed my mental fabric. Faces flickered through my mind, bathed in golden light. Noel's laughter at summer barbecues, Mama's comforting hugs after difficult days, Jess' unwavering belief in my abilities. The connections between us sparkled like stars in the vast darkness, threatening to consume me. "Maya, look at me," Mia implored, her eyes steady with warmth and unfaltering faith. "Your journey starts from within. Be brave enough to step forward and claim that legacy of yours. They can only love you when you are true to yourself." And just then, amidst the chaos, a gentle thread of hope flickered within me, radiating from the very core of my doubts. Perhaps these fears were not foes to shun but guides to help me navigate this treacherous chasm. What I feared, disconnection, rejection, loneliness, might not be the end, but a necessary storm before clarity emerged. My legacy was not meant to confine me but to propel me into the light. Gathering every ounce of strength, I took a step back, grounding myself in the reality of all I held dear. "I choose to leap," I declared, my voice steadying with conviction. The moment my foot left solid ground, time seemed to stretch, everything hung in a delicate balance. Then reality crashed back into focus as I fell, spiraling into the depths of undiscovered dreams. Clarity swallowed me whole, and strange visions began to flare around me like borderless canvases. I could see paths untraveled, opportunities cradled in the arms of possibility. Yet, just as I thought I could finally grasp hope, I felt a sharp yank, a potent force that pulled me backward, as if the universe itself was resisting my desire for change. Mia's voice echoed from afar, a beacon amid the swirling, nebulous chaos. The intensity of her plea heightened my alertness, pushing me to focus against the strange, gravitational force attempting to unravel my journey. Closing my eyes, I drew on all the memories of laughter, warmth, and love, allowing them to anchor me. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the swirling vortex below. A flame of recognition ignited in my chest. It was a woman, her features unmistakable. In the midst of this uncertainty, I recognized my mother, younger than I had ever seen her but infused with a radiant essence. She reached out, visibly scared yet fierce, emotions dancing on her face. "Maya, let go of the fear, embrace your truth. You are never alone." I felt the world shift and pivot around me, laden with the weight of unspoken words, lost chances, and dormant love. With a wild determination coursing through my veins, I extended my hand toward my mother's projection, the surge of warmth emanating from her transcending the abyss between us. But just as our fingers seemed destined to touch, a wall of shadows surged forward, a barrier threatening to eclipse her light. "This is not the end," I screamed, my heart pulling me into that gap, fighting the ghosts of the past coiling around me like serpents. I refused to lose this connection. I refused to let the past dictate my future. Unseen forces lashed out, grasping at my soul with all the fury of memories long stored and regret buried in the crevices of my heart. One last breath, I thought, and I leaped once more, this time not solely into the unknown but into the very essence of love and fortitude that bound us. But as I surged forward, a searing realization crashed over me like a wave. Moments frozen in time bring both warmth and anguish. I would do anything to keep those I loved close. Yet the legacy I sought required change, vulnerability, and perhaps pain. As the shadows receded momentarily, the silhouette of my mother smiled. But something shifted behind her, echoes of sadness lurking beneath her gaze. "Will you still be you?" the shadowed figures murmured, a haunting refrain that threatened to dismantle the very fabric of who I thought I'd become. And as I teetered between lifting off into the embrace of an unknown horizon or diving back into shadows filled with longing, I understood. The crossroads demanded more than bravery. They beckoned the truth of my imperfections, the weight of my love, and the acceptance of all that I had been and all that I could yet become. The air around me crackled with uncertainty, as I hung suspended between two worlds, one filled with the ghostly reminders of my past, and the other an uncharted territory laden with promise. My heartbeat echoed like a drum, pulsing through the silence that enveloped me. For a heartbeat, I glimpsed my mother's smile, the love radiating from her eyes cutting through the oppressive shadow. But the specters of doubt loomed large, whispering their insidious queries. "Will you still be you?" Panic gripped me as I strained toward her, longing to touch that flicker of hope. A sliver of movement caught my eye. A shadow gliding past the edges of my consciousness stirred a new kind of fear. I was teetering on the fine line between stepping into my truth and falling into the abyss, where the specters of regret danced with the ephemeral strands of possibility. Suddenly, the tempest stilled, and the shadows receded slightly, revealing a kaleidoscope of memories lingering in the corners of the void. I could see snapshots of every time I had faltered, when my voice trembled, or when the weight of expectation crushed my spirit. Each moment was a ripple in the water, a remembrance of the struggles that had stitched together the fabric of my identity. But amid that swirling chaos, I sensed something shifting in the air. An unexpected warmth enveloped me, a glimmer of kindness that seemed to illuminate the darkness I was trying to escape. Slowly, I turned to see a figure emerging from the light. When I least expected it was Jess, cradling a small lantern that flickered with hope. "Maya," she called, her voice unwavering in contrast to the tempest that swirled around us. "You are not alone. We are all here with you." The words wrapped around me, tethering my heart to her unwavering presence. Tiny bursts of color sparked as she stepped into the light, revealing a staff of friends behind her, each holding their own lantern. Every flickering flame whispered of dreams shared, laughter echoed, and the unwavering support that had interwoven our lives. A rush of emotions surged through me, mingling fear with profound love. "What if I let you down?" I asked, the tremor in my voice betraying my inner turmoil. "What if I become someone you can't recognize?" The shadows lingered, trying to creep back into my heart, but Jess stepped forward, her expression fierce and resolute. "Maya, We've celebrated your journey, every stumble, every leap. We want you to be the best version of yourself, whoever that may be. Fame isn't the enemy. Fear is. Embrace your truth and let that be your guide. I end that moment. The words resonated within me, igniting a shimmering ember of courage deep in my core. Perhaps fame was not about recognition but about authentic expression. I own a legacy built on the scars I wore as badges of honor, not as chains to bind me. As I grasped Jess' outstretched hand, the warmth from the lantern illuminated the shadows lurking at the corners of my mind. The storm that threatened to engulf me began to dissipate, revealing pathways through the chasm ahead. Together, we lifted our lanterns, casting rays of understanding that wove through memories and dreams, creating a bridge of camaraderie and solace. Yet, even as hope took root and blossomed, the shadows were relentless, clawing at the edges of my vision. From the depths of the chasm, a guttural growl echoed, sending vibrations coursing through the air. A sense of resistance sharpened. I could almost feel the malevolence of doubt surfacing, refusing to be illuminated, eager to undermine the newfound clarity. Maya. The shadows morphed into twisted forms that bore the faces of my loved ones. Their eyes filled with disappointment and regret. Do you think you can escape us? You carry us with you forever. We will never let you go. Fuel surged through me, a wild tempest of uncertainty churning against the connection I forged with Jess and our friends. I felt both anchored and freed, bound by love yet yearning for something recklessly uncharted. No, I shouted, defiance rising like phoenix flames. You may haunt me, but I will no longer be shackled by your chains. My voyage is my own. With that proclamation, I surged forward, pulling Jess and the others with me into the radiant light that now beckoned. But just as we approached a trembling edge, a visceral force slammed against my back, hurling me into the void. I screamed, a raw, anguished sound that echoed my fears. Your legacy waits, Jess called, her voice now distant, almost drowned beneath the roaring shadows that clawed at my heart. Believe in yourself, Maya. Just then, as the darkness closed in, a figure erupted from the depths beyond, a visage shrouded in familiarity yet clouded by sorrow. Eyes of molten gold pierced through the gloom, and I felt my breath hitch as realization struck, a haunting face from my past, twisted by regrets unspoken. Maya, the entity beckoned. Do you truly believe you can rise beyond your shadows? Or will you carry us forever? My vision blurred, destiny teetering on a razor's edge. The ultimate choice loomed, and with it, the time to confront not just fear, but the very essence of who I was becoming. The darkness embraced me, a swirling vortex of uncertainty threatening to pull me deeper into despair. Yet amidst the chaos, a clear voice broke through, cutting through my fears like a knife through fog. Maya, wake up! It was Jess, her presence cutting through the shadows, the warmth of our shared memories flooding my mind. I am here, I whispered, sounding unsure even to myself, a drowning girl fighting for air. Remember who you are, she urged, her voice resonating with unwavering strength. This darkness does not define you. It might obscure your light for a time, but you are the one who decides how your story unfolds. With each word, her incandescent courage began to peel back the layers of fear suffocating me. I thought of all the moments that led me to this precipice, the performances that mattered, the connections that anchored me, the laughter shared with loved ones. Maybe my legacy wasn't simply about fame or failure, but about reclaiming the pieces of myself that had been buried under expectations. It was then that the shadow morphed, coalescing into a form that was achingly familiar. It took shape, twisting and turning until it became a mirror reflecting my deepest insecurities, a younger version of myself. Eyes filled with longing and struggle. You think you can rise above me? You think you can find acceptance? The shadow mocked, a cruel smile curving its lips. How can you embrace your truth when you're afraid of what lies within? Taking a deep breath, I faced the reflection. I'm not afraid anymore, I said, my voice steady and resolute. You may be a part of me, but you don't define me. I choose to make something beautiful from my pain. I refuse to be ashamed of my past. Within that admission, something crucial shifted. The aching fears loosening their grip, I stepped forward, and with each step, the imprisoned memories danced to life. Beautiful memories began weaving themselves around Mimesy triumphs, cherished moments with Daniel, each playful giggle echoing memories of my mother's laughter. I was realizing these pieces connected me, not just to myself but also to everyone I loved. I am enough, I declared, the weight of those words granting me immense freedom. The shadows recoiled, twisting back into a chaotic swirl. Jess's hand found mine again, tightening, grounding me. Together, she murmured, her eyes shimmering with faith and encouragement. Together, I echoed, and we surged forward into the very heart of the spinning darkness, refusing to let it swallow our light. As we pushed through, a blinding light burst for the doorway, shimmering with the promise of new beginnings. But even as it opened, I felt the pull of the past tugging at my heartstrings, threatening to snatch away everything I had just claimed. The shadow stood resolute, whispering promises of despair. You can't fight me or erase the pain. What if you fail again? But the voices of my loved ones enveloped me, anchoring me as they poured their love into my soul. You are not alone, Maya. Not now, not ever. Jess' voice rose above any lingering whispers. With renewed conviction, I stepped beyond the threshold as a wave of warmth washed over me, illuminating every crevice of doubt. I felt the encumbering echoes of my past dissipate as they were filled with love, understanding, and acceptance. Yet just beyond the door, there lay another chill, like a faint reminder of unresolved truths. The world opened up around me, a vibrant tapestry, each thread a story waiting to be discovered. But with beauty came the lurking shadows, remnants of old fears clinging to me, whispering reminders of what had been lost. Will you stay true to your heart? A voice echoed, one I recognized as my mother's, soft but clear. Hope stirred within me. You must remember that while the past shaped you, it's not where you must live. Let go, let it transform you. My heart thundered as I looked back one last time, not at the shadow but at the faces of those who loved me. I saw Daniel, Jess, my mother, me brother, every laugh and tear woven into the story of my life. Suddenly, the gravity of the choice before me crystallized. Fame, pain, love, and loss, they could coexist. I had the power to change my narrative. I could choose to rise, to move forward bearing witness to the scars as marks of resilience rather than shame. That I choose to forgive, I thought fervently, a wave of strength rushing through me. I forgive myself, for every moment I hid, for every time I forgot my voice. And as I committed to this truth, the shadows behind me began to dissolve, not vanishing but transforming into something ethereal, an acknowledgement of my journey rather than a chain that bound me. Together, I murmured again, entwined with every ounce of love I felt. With those final words resonating in the depths of my soul, I stepped into the light, surrendering the past to the brilliance of the present, ready to embrace whatever lies ahead with hope, courage, and all the love this world had to offer. In that transformative moment, the final realization washed over me. My legacy was not merely about my triumphs or failures but about choosing to live authentically, allowing every shadow and shimmer to coexist. Today was a new chapter, an opportunity to live truly, vulnerably, and wholly as myself. And as the warmth enveloped me, the last remnants of doubt faded away. I would soar as the woman I was destined to be, a bright, imperfect, beautiful soul, rising from my own ashes, and in that profound silence, I closed my eyes and allowed the last note of the melody to echo deep within me, a promise to remember, to rise above fear, to find strength in vulnerability, and to leave a legacy not of fame, but of love.